Welcome back. I didn't go anywhere and it's still great to be here. I've got some more Baldur's Gate 3 news for you guys today. I'm going to start off talking about some questions that Larian Studios answered for us that cover a variety of topics ranging from respeccing your character to controller support to crafting and more. And at the end of the video we'll quickly go over the Ranger class, for we got to see a little bit of the Ranger in the character creation screens that we saw, and it's interesting to say the least. I want to say thank you to John Larimore for becoming a recent channel patron. Thank you so much, John, and welcome. Links to my Twitter and my Discord server will be below. Let's get into the news. Let's start off with controller support. Larian has stated that for Google Stadia there will be a beta version for controller support, but they recommend using a mouse and keyboard at first while they fine-tune the controller support for the future. So if you play your Stadia on a Chromecast on your TV and use a controller, you might want to wait a little or let some others test it before buying, or log into Stadia on your PC or laptop if you have one and just use your mouse and keyboard for the time being. If you're only a controller player and you don't mind paying for early access and possibly having some problems that go along with it, then go for it. It's not like you're not going to buy it later anyways. Larian has also said that controller support will be coming to the PC. Next up is respeccing your character, a subject that brings back PTSD for many of us who have made some wrong decisions in games and not been able to fix them. It's never happened to me. It sounds like respeccing your character will definitely be in the game. However, Larian is currently still trying out different ways for introducing it, so they don't have an official answer for us yet. So if I was you, I wouldn't expect the option to respec your character in early access, at least in the initial stages of it, so choose carefully. As far as origin characters go, the same answer applies. Larian is working on some form of respecking for them as well. And now back to romance. For those of you who might not be interested in engaging in this type of activity, Larian has confirmed that it's completely your choice. You can reject any advances from any characters in the game. I personally don't mind romance in the game. In fact, I prefer games that let you go to the extremes as long as it's the player's choice. That way everyone can get what they want. However, I do think it would be cool if the game had some sort of parental control toggle that completely took out any and all romance, including attempts, because I do know many families that play D&D together, shout out to Vork, and are also playing Baldur's Gate 3. Even the advances could potentially be awkward, and what do you do if your son or daughter accepts an advance in front of you? Yeah, but the game is mature and technically not meant for little kids, but I'll still pray for you D&D BG3 families. Alright, now let's talk about a topic that many people seem to be curious about, crafting. But we're only going to talk about it briefly, for Larian only gave us one short statement. They said that there will be some form of crafting, but it will be limited. It makes sense because it's like that in D&D as well, and it's not meant to be the focus of the game. You can do some cool stuff in D&D with downtime in towns and crafting, but many players might play D&D and never do much of that stuff ever. There's so many other in-depth aspects to D&D and Baldur's Gate 3 alike that not having a huge deep crafting system should not be a problem like it might be for other games that are rather empty overall with content. I actually find myself kind of excited for crafting to be limited, because when crafting gets complex it can be stressful and even a little overwhelming at times, so I am excited to not have to worry about it too much. Crafting can also kill your inventory, and if you're bad at inventory management, crafting will be the death of your soul. With that said, I am excited to see what Larian does do with it, and it would be cool if we had to gather some wood for arrows, or if there were some special magical items that we could craft after finding some cool items in a deep dungeon, but whatever they do, I think it will be fairly straightforward. Next topic is equipping items. When you equip new armor, boots, capes, etc., they will show up on your character in the game as well as in dialogue scenes. However, rings and amulets will not appear. One day we might get some games that show us the cool rings and stuff, but not today. Not today. How about petting animals that you see? Yes, you can, however, it might not always work in your favor. Larian says that if you see a dog, go for it. However, they don't recommend petting an owlbear. but the owlbear cub that we saw in the gameplay, that may or may not be a good idea. We're going to have to live and learn on that one. I'm actually really excited to see how we can get animal companions at our camp, and of course I'm gonna f***ing pet them. And that's it for the Q&A questions. I know many of those we didn't really get detailed or definitive answers, but we take what we can get. Alright, now it's time to talk about the Ranger class. In the character creation community update, we got to see a Githyanki Ranger. The Ranger class has been one of the big mysteries for how Larian Studios is going to handle it. For in Dungeons & Dragons, it was widely regarded as underpowered and had a rather low overall player satisfaction rating. Wizards of the Coast did create a revised Ranger, and more subclasses were released, and that helped the class, but I'm not going to get into all of that right now. Larian told us that they will be revising the Ranger themselves, and now it's evident that they were not kidding around. At Ranger level 1 in character creation, you get to choose a favored enemy. In D&D, you would choose a specific type of monster to be your favorite enemy, such as dragons, elementals, undead, and many more. And when you came across an enemy that falls into the category of your favorite enemy choice, such as a skeleton would fall under the undead category, you would be able to track it better, recall information on the creature better, and also learn a language, but language is irrelevant in Baldur's Gate 3. The problem with the D&D version was it wasn't that good really until the revised Ranger came out and actually gave you a damage boost to your favorite enemy. And also it's just too specific, for if you don't come across your favorite enemy often, it's kind of a waste. In Baldur's Gate 3 it appears that Larian has created their own categories of favorite enemies, and they seem to be more broad than the D&D ones. At level 1, you will choose one of these types of favored enemies: Bounty Hunter, Keeper of the Val, Mage Breaker, Ranger Knight, and Sanctified Stalker. To be honest, I have no idea what these mean, but I am almost certain that they will be broad enough to where you will encounter enemies that fall into these categories probably quite often. And I'm assuming in Baldur's Gate 3 there will be some sort of damage boost that you'll get along with the other advantages. Bounty Hunter might have something to do with enemies that are criminals, or Mage Breaker might have something to do with magical creatures. It's very interesting to think about, and I'm definitely curious as to your guys' thoughts. The second thing I want to show is Natural Explorer. This is also something that you'll choose right away at level 1 as a ranger. Like the favorite enemy, Natural Explorer was not always that great in D&D, for it was too specific, and if you as a player didn't know exactly what type of terrain your group was going to be on, then it was wasted. With Natural Explorer in D&D, you would choose a terrain from choices such as desert, forest, mountains, etc. And when you're in that type of terrain, you get advantages such as difficult terrain not slowing your group's travel. You can move faster while in stealth. You learn more about creatures in the area, find more food, etc. The revised D&D Ranger gave you more benefits, such as getting advantage on initiative rolls while in your chosen terrain. Larian Studios obviously has not gone the D&D 5e route with the Natural Explorer choices, for our choices will be Beast Tamer, Urban Tracker, Wasteland Wanderer Cold, Wasteland Wanderer Fire, and Wasteland Wanderer Poison. Once again, it's hard to tell exactly what these mean, and we still don't know what advantages we will get while in our chosen terrain. Urban Tracker obviously has something to do with cities and towns. In Wasteland Wanderer, you would assume that the cold one would be some sort of tundra, or maybe just colder weather. Fire might be in places such as Avernus, where we will be visiting in Baldur's Gate 3, and Poison might be in places with swamp marshlands, or maybe even the Underdark. I really don't know. Like I said, I'm looking forward to reading your guys' opinions in the comments below. Everything else on the Ranger looks pretty standard D&D. This Ranger has 11 hit points, which means he must have a 12 or 13 in Constitution, giving him a +1 Constitution modifier to add to the Ranger base HP of 10. Rangers will get proficiency in strength and dexterity saving throws, light and medium armor, simple and martial weapons, and shields. Rangers might be one of the first classes that I try out in early access, for I really want to see how the Beastmaster subclass works out, and yeah, I want a wolf. I will likely dissect and do an in-depth video on the Ranger the first week of early access. And that's it for today's video. I think I'll be able to get out one more video before the launch of early access, so keep an eye out for that. I will be streaming early access next week, so turn on those bell notifications if that's something that you don't want to miss. Thanks guys so much. Fuck. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like, comment, and subscribe. I really appreciate it. It's a huge help to my videos. I do all sorts of content on this channel, ranging from live streams to game reviews to game tutorials to lore videos and much more. I'd love to have some of you guys back for a future video. Until next time.